Thanks so much for joining us here for Cosmic Conversations. This is April 12, 2026, and this is our conversation event. We love to be together to have discussion, to learn from each other, to ask all kinds of questions with other people that understand it, where nothing is too weird and nothing is too woo-woo, and we get to learn from all of our diverse experiences, so we all benefit from the conversation. There are three of us that regularly run the event, and we often have guests. We have a guest today, and we have new people join us for the conversation all the time. We're going to go through and introduce ourselves so you know a bit about who we are, and then we're going to leap into the conversation. We want to hear from all of you, why you came, what you want to talk about. Like, we don't know what we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to find out. So do we want to go in the same order as before? All of you? Yeah, go ahead. And I've got your contact info in the chat for the people that are here. Feel free to put it on the video too. So if anyone's watching the video later, they might reach out to you. All right. I think we're starting off with Crystal.
Okay, wow. Well, hi, I'm Crystal Novak. I'm a psychic reader. I'm also a conscious channel, and I also do energy work. And basically, my name on my website is I Know Stuff, because literally that's what comes to me is stuff. I just get information. It happens all the time. So it's not like I go looking for it. It's like being a giant post office box and letters get dropped off all the time. I've been doing this for a number of years. And part of my background was being in a meditative study group that was a channeled group, and an ascended master taught the group, and we met once a week for 35 years. And he taught us a lot of different stuff, which I've incorporated as well into my skill sets. And that in turn elevated my vibrational rate as well. And so my ability to do things also kept increasing as well. I love doing these cosmic conversations. Because as Laureli pointed out, there's really not that many places you can go and feel comfortable talking about different things. Like, did you see a ghost? Did somebody knock on the wall and there was nobody there? Do you see things? Are you hearing stuff? Have you had a paranormal experience? Have you just have questions about anything along those lines? This is a place where you can talk about that stuff and no one's going to look at you weird and like say, oh, no. That's what we're here for. That's what we all believe in. It's sharing knowledge, it's sharing experience, it's sharing information. So like I like to say, this is like an interactive podcast. You are 100% encouraged to talk about stuff or ask a question about something that we're talking about. Please just like jump in and join us. There are no stupid questions. There's nothing like that. This is a place to learn and experience and share knowledge and experience. So please. Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. I'm just going to jump in before the next intro too. Whatever topics you want to talk about, you can come up here on stage with us and you'll be video recorded and audio recorded. You can just talk about stuff from your chair and then you'll be in the audio recording. And if you want to ask a question or talk about a topic confidentially, you can also just chat us and we will just read it out. So there are tons of ways of doing this privately too. All right, Kai.
Hey everybody, I'm Kai. I'm a Hawaiian Kahuna, which is the Hawaiian version of a shaman, and I've been doing a lot of energy work for many years. I have been able to see things like angels, demons, and other things that I don't even have name for since I was a kid. My mom actually knew that I was special, I guess you could say, before I did. And so I've been doing this paranormal stuff for the entirety of my life. So there's not a lot that surprises me. Yet I continue to learn things because energy moves in such significant and different ways that I never stop learning things. And I like having these kinds of conversations because people teach me things all the time about how different energy is and what it does and how it works because it it's able to adapt in so many ways that our little human minds can't even conceive of all of it. And so when we have these conversations, we can actually get a glimpse into things that we would have never personally experienced and just be exposed to different types of things that we never thought we would. So having these conversations is not just about people talking or like necessarily teaching anything. It's about sharing significant information that can later serve not just the person who had the experience, but others as well. So if you have anything that you would like to share or just some weird thing that you thought about, share it because you don't know how that might impact another person. And that's the importance of having a kind of conversation like this, which is why I'm really glad that I get to be a part of this because I learn a lot. And hopefully, with this being recorded and people participating, that other people get the benefit of knowledge that they might not otherwise have gotten if we didn't do this. So, for those of you who have shown up today, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate your time and I appreciate that you think that this is worth your time. So, thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Kai. All right, our guest today is Arrun. Tell us about you.
Hi. My name is Arrun, and I live in the state of Washington. Since childhood, I have been very sensitive to energy, and but since while you're young, you don't realize it. Uh, Sometimes is what you go through and what is happening because you don't realize it that this is not kind of normal, but then you try to sometimes some of us ignore it, and this is what happened with me. I used to ignore it. I could see the unseen things. I could see visions with the mind. I could foresee what's going to happen. And it used to happen, things used to happen in a period of a week, a day, or sometimes even a month, but it happens. And certain times when I used to speak something, it just comes out of your mouth, not realizing, and that happens sometimes. So energy speaks in different ways, like Kai mentioned. As we all know it, energy comes in different forms. We all have certain abilities, but we just are not aware of it, or sometimes we are aware of it, but we ignore it. But when you are aware of it, you know that this is something beyond the normal things. And so this is what happened with me, and I ignored it, but came a certain time in life where sometimes the universe brings you back to a situation, force you to listen to it and to realize it. And this is how the universe brought me into energy healing. And I was running a successful business, but then at a certain point of time, I had no interest to it, and I shut it down, took a break, and I went to Bali to be away from all the noise. And this is where and then in Bali is where I realized that this was it, and this is what it brought me into energy healing. And that's where I started. And I practiced Reiki, and I got certified as a Reiki master, a crystal healer, and I did my Reiki energy healing with the Reiki surgery as well. But then I was brought into another path of a traditional Balinese healing modality, is what I was called into. And I believe this is why I was called to move to Bali. And that's where I was trained under my master. And this is what I stayed with the traditional energy healing, where this healing really helped me. And I went through it as well. And this is what I stayed with, because I've seen people being healed, and this is what helped me as well for clarity. So I stayed with it, and I started practicing this energy healing and to understand how energy works in our space in our daily lives, and I'm here if I could be of any help with any answers that I can answer about how to understand how energy within our space and our day-to-day lives, how to elevate yourself to bring you clarity and to bring you awareness. I think the most important is awareness. Once you have awareness, I think it just helps you to make better choices and decisions in life. So, and I thank you for joining us here today, and you're welcome to any questions. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Arrun. And I'm Laureli Shimayo. In addition to hosting, I'm also an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. I read your eyes, and really, I'm reading your energy. I'm reading the energy of your soul as it comes through your eyes. I'm also reading the energy of your body, and the way you physically manifest in your body gives me all kinds of indications about your state emotionally and where you are with various lessons. I came from being a scientist and moved into practical applied science in the world, and then business and intellectual property and all kinds of different things. And in working on myself, I got more interested in learning more and more about people. I'd always been interested in psychology and finally explored that, studied with somatic psychotherapists, right? Healing myself and then learning to heal others. And so I combine all these tools of understanding people and being able to read the energy of people through our eyes to help people better understand themselves and make choices about what they do and who they do things with and how they interact with the people that are around them. So I love learning from Kai and Crystal. I used to occasionally catch them chatting with each other in between clients, and I'm so glad now I get to participate in the conversation here. So thanks everyone for coming. I'm just excited to be able to talk all together. And yeah, we are open. So if anyone has topics they want to bring up, now is the time. We want to hear from you and we want to know like what interested you to come and yeah, what is present for you. And if any of us want something like on the panel we want to talk about, we can talk about that too. And when you're welcome to just unmute, you don't have to raise your hand or anything like that. If you want, you can come up here on stage with us. We are recording. It is going to go on our YouTube channel, so you can choose if you want to be on the visual recording, just on the audio recording, or if you have stuff you want to talk about, come, privately, you can just message us in the chat and we will talk about things there too. Oh yeah. Anyone come with any particular topics? Go ahead. You want to come up?
Hi, Arrun. I just had curiosity. You were talking about, how do you pronounce the Balinese that you're doing, or?
Yes, the Balinese it's a very traditional form of healing, and it's a Balinese traditional healing. A it's we don't use this can be done online as well as I do in-person healing, but the thing is this healing is of course everything is with energy, and the healing is through is a modality what I use through the source and transfer the energy.
So you're transferring energy from source through to the person? Is that what you're doing?
Correct, to the person. That is right.
I've watched you work with people a little bit. I haven't watched the whole session, but I've watched little bits of it. So I know you have them sitting or laying down, and then there are different postures, and I see you doing things with
Yes,
your hands.
the
And
energy. It's what happens is it's generally recommended that they be seated on the floor because to connect with the energy of Earth, and a energy does its thing when we transfer energy. When I transfer energy and do the healing, I intuitively sometimes feel where energy needs to go, where if there are blockages. And when I do that, it's sometimes energy works in different people in different ways. So different people have different reactions to it. And sometimes when the energy is so strong that the person receives it, they fall back by themselves on their own. So there's different reactions to it for different people. So it's that I don't ask anyone to lie down, but some people move different ways, they receive energy different ways, and their reactions are different. So this is how that works. But energy does go in and does its thing because we know energy being intelligent, it knows what it needs to do and where it needs to go.
And Dina, you can unmute and ask Ian. Sorry, there was a funny echo, so I had muted you. But yeah, you can
Oh,
totally unmute.
no, just thank you. That's very interesting. I just had not heard of that before. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and Kai, I think is able to see the energy more so than right. You particularly see it. So yeah,
Mhm.
Kai watched you working with someone. You had a different perspective too on what you're doing from the what Kai would see.
Yeah, it's funny as he was talking, it's just like energy was running, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I can actually see that. But that's what happens with energy healers is like as soon as they start talking about whatever their modality is, they actually start running the energy, and you can actually see them, like you can see the energy coming out of their hands and stuff. So that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
Yes, you're seeing some of it as Arrun is talking.
Hmm. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions on anything or any other topics that they wanted to bring up? I mean, I know Laura, you were talking about like you want to ask something about Lemuria or Atlantis. What
And I
what was that
say,
about?
yeah, I just say so. BEPC Conscious Wellness Expo is coming up, and we have a bunch of different speakers. So I have to make all the events for the speakers and things like that. And
Hmm.
we have a guest that's speaking on finding Atlantis. And so I only know a little bit, but like the reasoning they have for why no one has been able to find Atlantis or proof of Atlantis is that they're looking on the wrong part of the world. And so they have evidence. It's a researcher that's now died, and the person that has studied under them and is now supporting that organization of sharing all the information is going to speak. And so the idea is that it's on the different side of the world, and that's why no one has found it where they've been looking. So that's going to be something that we're going to share. So I just kind of want to have that in the space and just, yeah, anything. I mean, I just see the tiniest little bit on their website, but yeah, like anyway, their stories are just all kinds of information about civilization coming through there and things like that. And
Hmm.
I never know, I was a scientist, right? So I kind of hold to like, okay, I want to see the science, but then there's all the stuff that I don't understand scientifically too. So yeah, and I can go find some more of the words. But I just any comments anyone has about that sort of stuff too. I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
When
Atlantis has always been kind of an odd thing, at least for me, just because, some people are like, oh, it's in the Bermuda Triangle. That's why it's like that. And other people are like, oh, like the Bimini Road and all that other stuff. Um, and some people are just like, oh, it's actually like an interdimensional place. Like you can't get there from here kind of stuff. And so it's really interesting how Atlantis and Lemuria, those two things, they were like, oh, they were in conflict with each other and they blew each other up or some other stuff. And, it's just, it's the theories are just rampant about different things. And there was even something about, um, because the continent of Lemuria was, if assuming all the continents were together, because they do move around on the planet, that Hawaii was actually part of that. And so there's some people who believe that the indigenous Hawaiians are like part of the original Lemurian race that then progressed and became Hawaiian, and when everything else fell into the sea or whatever. And then other people believe that the Lemurians that were left after this supposed war with Atlantis actually moved underground to Mount Shasta. And that there's like this secret community under Mount Shasta or something that you have to be invited into. So so for me, I'm just like, it's all speculation until someone says, here's the actual proof kind of thing. Because I'm like you, like even though I enjoy the paranormal and stuff like that, but my personal thing is like I'm also very scientific. I enjoy scientific discoveries. I'm just and if you can, I mean, it's indisputable that the Bermuda Triangle, like things disappear. That's not in dispute, right? Things have like full, like huge ships have disappeared in that area with no explanation. That's fact. Where they went, who knows? And what caused it, unknown. But we have many places on the earth where things are just weird. They don't follow like the standard form of physics.
Mhm.
Like I visited this place down in Gold Bar, Oregon, that's called it's like a giant portal kind of thing. And it's like balls roll uphill, things, it's just weird stuff like that. And it's partly, and I don't know if it's just like the energy there or if it's just like a perceptual shift. It's really interesting because I think what people don't realize about a lot of these weird kind of anomalous places and things is that the reason why they don't make sense to us is because they don't follow the general rules we're used to as far as physics. But at the same time, part of it is due to our perception. We can only accept what we can understand, what our brains can kind of comprehend, and whatever we don't, like we automatically just screen out.
Well, given
So
the
that's
way
why a
you
lot of people
see
miss things.
things, given the
Hmm?
way you see things, did you
Hmm.
experience balls going uphill when you were there?
Well, yeah, I mean that is a physical reality there. Like you put the ball down at the bottom of a ramp and it rolled uphill. And we were like, oh, okay, that's weird. So it is a physical reality in this particular space. And what's interesting is like you can't use any cell phones in the area because the energy of the vortex that's there is so huge, like cell phones don't work there. Everyone who lives within like I think it's like 2 or 3 miles of this area have to use a landline because cell phones won't work at all. It just completely disrupts cell signal. And it's just down in Oregon.
Yeah, which city is it? I know I've heard of it before
It's
too.
Gold Bar.
Okay.
Yeah. We
Wow.
drove down there. It was like a road trip kind of thing. We're like, let's see what this place is. I was like, holy mackerel. It's really interesting. And we have these like anomalous places where where things don't behave the way we expect them to, as they do in the rest of the planet. And then we have like these weird spaces where, things and people just disappear.
There's a place outside of Santa Cruz called the Mystery Spot that is very similar to what you're talking about what you experienced at Gold Bar. Same kind of thing, things rolling uphill. Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
But
there's lots of
it
these little
visually,
mystery places.
but you didn't see anything that was different, the way you visualize things. You didn't see anything different there.
Well, I did actually, because when you look at the vortex itself, for me, it didn't look like, because I was expecting just like a big portal, right? That things could step through because they have this thing where they have the little Halloween party and they like, they've had pictures of like weird little ghosts and shadows and stuff like that in their photos. But when I went, it actually looked to me like a wormhole. Like I could look all the way through it, like into like another dimension, is what it looked like to me. It was completely stable, and I didn't feel like it was open, but it was like looking through a tunnel.
Wow. Well, I'm just going to bounce back for a moment, but we don't have to go there. I just put a link in the chat for the this place on Atlantis. It's atlan.org. And just looking at the FAQs, I want to say like I had no idea that Plato wrote a bunch of stuff about Atlantis. Like I just didn't know. Like I don't know where all these stories come from and stuff like that. So just supposedly it is Atlantis is the source of many religions, sciences, civilizations. Anyway, all that stuff. I'm saying particularly good in the transformation we're going through right now in the age of Aquarius, and that we do not have to be at war, ways we could be at peace, and part of why that's important. But oh wow, how interesting, these different areas just floating all over the world at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like all this paranormal type stuff. So I'm, listening to things about people talking about like disappearances and even like national parks. So like people are like, like be careful when you go to like Yosemite and places like that, like, stay on the paths kind of stuff because lots of people have been disappearing in the national parks and we don't know who because apparently the parks are keeping a lid on that information according
But
to people who have tried to find out how many people have gone missing or how many people have been looked for or whatever. So I just thought, oh, well, that's interesting.
but the I mean to keep talking about BEPC, but the plan for the fall expo is that we're going to talk about disclosure and galactic origins, and so maybe we'll talk about some of that stuff and people disappearing and all that. Yeah, and this is where there's crazy crap happening on the surface of the earth that could be what's going on, and there could be paranormal stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the theories are like just, you know, innumerable. There's so many. People are like, it's like it's the reptile people. It's the, all this other stuff. You're just like, yeah, I don't know. Again, I'm like, evidence of such.
I know there's so much that we don't have evidence for, like we don't have evidence of what you do, but we know it happens. So Maria's got something to share. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, it's something along what Kai was saying. So like I read that there's different vortexes like around the United States, different areas of the world. And so one afternoon I was playing around with energy and I was able to tap in, like in Sedona, for example, there's like several different vortexes
Hmm.
into these individual vortexes, and they each had a distinct feel to them. So like the cathedral vortex, I think felt very soft. I forgot the names of the other ones, but I had a list of them, and they all were very distinct. One felt very not aggressive, but more masculine. One felt very soft. One felt spiritual, and then one just felt like very buzzy. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, that was pretty cool. And I was
Yeah.
able to do that from where I was sitting, just tapping in.
Yeah, well, because you can tap into energy from anywhere in the world and any time in the world.
Mhm.
So, you if you wanted to, tap into the energy of ancient Rome, that's not difficult to do. It just takes intent. But yeah, you're right, because I've been to Sedona a few times, and yeah, we're just like, okay, let's be tourists and, go and hit all the portals and stuff, and they do feel different, each one of them. And some of them, when I went, I was just like, yeah, this doesn't, I think this is just a tourist trap thing here because there's nothing here. So yeah, but the ones that were active, they were distinctly different in energy, and it could be that they're, I don't know, connected to different things, I guess. I'm not even sure, because when the last time I went there, I didn't really focus so much on portals. I was just trying to focus on feeling the energy, because in the beginning, like I couldn't really, when I started this whole thing, um when I started training specifically with energy, which was 2014, I actually didn't feel a lot. I saw, I mean, I've been seeing since I was an infant, according to my mom, but I couldn't feel anything. And then, so I had, when I had gone to Sedona, like I could kind of start to distinguish between them, but I couldn't get an in-depth reading of the portals themselves because I just wasn't that sensitive at that time. But now it's different. Like I can tap into stuff and I can actually follow energy pretty much anywhere.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Pretty cool. Thank you.
you're welcome.
It's just that I think we need to be able to connect. We need to be at a certain level in life, a certain stage, where we can, where we should be able to connect with energy. Um, from my understanding, is what I mean. We all have a certain limit. We all have that ability to a certain extent. And what happens is when we reach a certain frequency, there are some who are since childhood who have already reached that frequency, a certain who reach a frequency at a later stage in life. So then they begin to connect. So I guess there is an ability in everyone, but like I said, there some are who are aware of it, some are not aware of it, or some are aware of it and then they ignore it. So yeah, there are a lot of ways that we can connect with energy.
Mhm.
Yeah. And a lot of it too has to do with people who they're either ready or not to embrace
Correct.
it.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
is
it's
correct.
because I mean, I've run into a lot of people who are like, when I was a kid, I used to be able to do that. And then I freaked out and I told it I didn't want to do that anymore. Yeah. And then she goes, now I can't do it, kind of stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, well, you just need to request that part of you that kind of shut that down, that it let it
But
open back up and it will come
sure.
back. So yeah, so a lot of it is just like acceptance. And I mean, because I know a lot of people, some people have said to me like, oh my gosh, I wish I could see what you see, and I'm like, no, you don't.
Right.
Because I don't have a filter. Like I see everything, good and bad. So I'm just like, you don't want the level of sight that I have, but you might want some level of sight. And I think that's part of the development of our gifts is that we get to decide how much or how little of something we want. And sometimes people think that they're kind of at the mercy of whatever, whatever the universe decides. And I'm like, no, this is you get to decide. You're in charge of this. You get to decide how much of that you want, how little of that, how far you want to go with that. You decide what the limits are. Um, and I think that that's important because a lot of times we tend to, I guess, not give our power away, but underestimate our ability to control our situations.
Correct.
I mean,
So,
we don't get a lot of support for that. I mean,
yeah.
if you start embracing your gifts, then it's like you enter an apprenticeship. And if you continue to work on it, then you move up to different levels. And then you also have to let your nervous system acclimate to everything. And then you begin to, you can work more with your chakras and your energy systems. You also might get teaching from another entity like guides or masters, angels. Um, yeah, so it kind of reminds me of like a camera lens or binoculars. If you've ever picked up a pair of binoculars and you want to see something way over there, you've got to, yeah, you got to fuss around with them, right? And try to get them to line up on that. And, but if you looked at something and you took that, what you hear over far away and looked at something right in front of you, it would totally be distorted. So it's like we are the binoculars, and part of it is like Kai was mentioning, like, what do you actually want to let in? I don't want to see all the stuff that Kai sees. No, thank you. No. But I can feel all the stuff. So I can tell when there's something there. I can, then if I turn to look, then I can, if I focus on it, then I can see it. But I don't walk around like, no, no, no. So there's, yeah, it's like different wavelengths, like you're an antenna and what's coming in that you can pick up that frequency. And different people get it different ways and experience it in different ways. And I think that's part of the reason why there's not one set way, or, like we're talking about all the different takes on what the Bermuda Triangle is, or Atlantis, or Lemuria. And different people have different beliefs around all that. And then your beliefs influence your perception. So if you shift your perception, you're going to have a different experience. Your reality will change. So there's not one size that fits all. And I think some of this stuff is purposely veiled so that it's like you put up something in front of the fireplace, so little kids can't walk up and stick their hand on, inside the fireplace, or a hot stove. So that those of us who maybe don't have that level of awareness don't accidentally fry ourselves. And we do not have the awareness that that particular whatever thing is there. And therefore it might feel cold when we walk through, or maybe you get a little twitchy, but you might not stop to go, why is it cold here? Why do I feel twitchy here? It's just like this thing. And you just keep going because you're not focused on that. It's your awareness isn't stopping to like let that come in, and what can that be? My 27 cents worth.
And when we talk about what Kai sees as scary, does it keep more of us from being able to see it? And then, Kai, how do you know if you see everything? Like, what if there are things that you've subconsciously decided are too scary and you don't want to see?
Well, the way I have things, it's like I have several layers of filters. So for me, like the more negative something is, like the more I just get impressions of it. I don't actually see it. Um, Unless of course I'm sick, and then all the filters drop, and then I see everything as if they're solid. Like they cast shadows. So when I'm not sick, like all my filters work just fine. And I don't, some things I just see and other things I get impressions of. And depending on how I get that information, it tells me a lot about whatever it is, like size, strength, that type of thing. Um, and I can actually hear them as well when they talk. So, um, yeah, so I get a tremendous amount of information, and most people don't want that level of information, and they don't need it. It's not necessary.
And
Yeah.
I guess, Crystal, do you think you do the same thing in terms of feeling? Like you let yourself feel enough so that you know things, but not more that's going to be impactful on you in a problematic way, kind of? Or
So I'm always feeling stuff all the time. But then if I shift my focus to that, stop it, shift my focus to that, then it's like, okay, now I'm going to really look, what is this? Then I'm going to really look at it. If I did that 24 hours a day, I wouldn't go anywhere because I'd be too much information, So it's, and I guess you could call that a filter. It's kind of a safety mechanism so I don't overload myself.
it's like our
Yeah,
brains do
and for
that all
me,
the
it's
time. So with the energy that you're aware of, you're doing that too. I know our brains are turning off all kinds of stimuli that we have that's not as relevant.
yeah. Because it's the same thing with me. It's like because I can see a lot. If I spend my time focusing on like, oh, that's identify this, identify that, look at that thing, watch that thing, do this thing, I would never get anything done.
Yeah.
It's like the beginning when I was learning to read people's eyes. I was like, oh, more eyes. Oh, more eyes. Think about that. Oh, more eyes. Think about it. Yeah, I couldn't get very far.
Yeah.
Because I could walk through the grocery store and I'm just like, okay, there's an entity on that guy, there's an entity on that woman over there, there's a thing crawling on the floor. Look at the thing sitting on top of the grocery case. Like I do that. That's what I do. Like I literally pay attention. If I did that, I would never get the thing that I went to the store for.
Yeah. 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 I'll be in line and it's like somebody will be next to you. I'm like, oh, okay, definitely shields up. There's something off here. Um, and then that's enough for me. I mean, it's off, so I don't want to like look even deeper to see necessarily what that is. That's enough for me in the moment, and I know I'm safe and I know I've got my shields up. Um, Now later on if I go home and then I'm like, I wanted to, okay, what was that? So then I will go and look at it because I can do that. But yeah, it's too much. You wouldn't get anything, like Kai said, you wouldn't get anything done. Um, so when we're at the fairs and we have a client sit down at the table, there's a massive amount of things happening all the time. There's people talking, there's noise. If we're sitting back by the waterfall, it makes this weird gurgling sound. It's the people reading right next to us. They're talking. And somebody said, how do you keep your focus? And like all this stuff. And I said, well, there is everything happening right now, but what I'm choosing to focus on is right here. And the rest of it's just extraneous. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Only like a fire alarm goes off or something, but you just block it out because it's not part of what your focus is on.
Yeah. Arrun, I was thinking about what you're, just hearing these kinds of conversations. Like, what do you do when you're working with people and all the different energies of the people that come up that want
I
healing
stay
with you?
focused too, as Crystal just mentioned. Like yesterday when I attended the event, and it was at a market, and I was focused. There's a lot of noise happening around everywhere, but you just stay focused in your healing, and it doesn't matter. Like there was heavy wind yesterday, and it blew everything off my table, but I was still focused at my work, at the healing. And this is how I guess you do it. Just stay focused in what you're doing, and that's how you can transfer energies, right? And as exactly as what she said, what Crystal said. So that's what I do. While Kai had mentioned uh, about earlier about Oregon State, right? That brought me back into my past when I was much younger years. Is I was born and raised in India. I left India almost like 40 years ago. At one point of time when I visited a place, was a very spiritual and high in energy, that location. Just wanted to give it a try and see what's up there. Heard about it. I said, okay, we'll stop by and figure it out. Went into a place and someone had mentioned about it about this, which I'm going to let you know now, is walked in to the place and they had a little bowl, two little bowls, and each bowl had a little kind of pendant, an oval shaped pendant, a neck pendant, each of it. And from each of the pendant, one of it was oozing out honey filled with jasmine. And the other one was oozing out ash. So I said, no, that's not possible. So the guy who was taking care of it took them out of the bowl, put it in my hand, on my palms, emptied it, just the pendants, put it on my palm, and in a few seconds, my palm was filled with ash and honey. I had to pour it off, take off the pendant, pour them off, place it back again, and again in a few seconds, it was filled with ash and honey. I was amazing. That just blew me off, and that's what slowly brought me back as a reminder that energy is everywhere in everything. And you just have to believe and stay focused. You have to realize that because everyone's so busy in their life, or we just ignore it and we just go on with our lives, daily lives. And this is what happened is then I brought back some of the ash and some of the energy. Some of the honey, because they were both healing things, right? So I brought them back and I had it for several years with me. So I used to use the ash, like a pinch of it, put it in water and drink it if I felt kind of odd or wasn't feeling well or some sort of that. A few years ago, I took care of my parents. My mom and dad used to live with me, and I took care of them until they got old, until they passed. So one day, my mother was ill, and she was lying down. It was like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock afternoon. And I'm thinking, why isn't she woken up as yet? Why is she? Because she normally, like, what, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock max, she's out of her room and she's sitting out. So it was 12 o'clock, and I'm thinking, why hasn't she woken up yet? And why is she still in the room? So I go and check on her. And she's lying down, not feeling well. And she says that, "Oh, my left arm is aching." So I looked at beside the table was that little box of ash, which I always keep it there. And I have the ash, I pour it in water, a little bit of water, shake it around. Of course, what do you expect the water color to be? Gray? Ash color, right? Just turns to a little murky gray. All the time, same thing. But that particular moment, I took the ash and I sprinkled it again in the water, and I asked her to drink it with that belief that it's going to help her and reduce that pain. That water changed to purple in color. I kept twisting it. It changed to a light purple, twisted even more, darker, medium purple, even more, darker purple. I was scared. I said, what's going on with this ash today? Why is it acting up like this? And I didn't want to give it to her, not knowing what's going to happen. Threw it, came back, did the whole process again. And this time it was gray, back in the gray, same gray color. I gave that to her to drink it. But at that moment, it struck me that it's your trust, your faith. You got to believe what you do when you do the healing. And everyone has that in them. And it's just all about faith and trust. And slowly that brought me into this and started going deeper into the healing process.
Yeah, and
So,
any of you in the audience have any related stories or anything, feel free to unmute and share.
so that's what Kai mentioned is what it brought me back to those memories and says energy is everywhere. I mean, things happen everywhere. It's just that you need to be focused and you need to be open to see and realize it.
Well, our thought creates intent. And when you hold intent, then you can manifest that intent. And water is very open to vibration. It's because it's so fluid, it's malleable. Like a big chunk of rock, that's a different story versus water.
Right.
And there's a principle of energy that basically states the first principle that everything in this that we see is a reflection of divine mind, and it's all based on thought. So we're little godlings in the making. I mean, we all have, that essence of spirit that we're, driving around in this vehicle, but we are spirit. And all the masters and stuff that teach, it's always about thought, about what are you holding in your consciousness? What are you holding in your awareness? And I had a friend once years ago, and when she was little, she used to have different colored like glasses, and she'd put water in them. And she would tell the green one that when I drink you, it's going to be like this, and the blue one, when I drink you, it's going to be, and the red one. And that's what would happen for her. As she got older, then, you go to school and you learn all this stuff. And so she started to doubt it, like maybe I made it up or, and then it wouldn't work for her anymore. So yeah, intent is extremely important. Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Because like Kai, when you're doing your work, you are holding different, it's like, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now, I'm doing this now. It's like you are like walking through and holding the intent for each thing that you do, that it's going to be this way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to, because it's like, especially if you're, I mean, like I don't do little things.
This is true.
So, but I mean, whether you're doing a big thing or a little thing, whatever your perception of that is, it requires intent. And it requires you to hold that intent. And I think that what's happened with a lot of people with the things that they're trying to manifest, the things that they're trying to have happen, like some healing that they want to have, or some they're trying to alter some sort of situation that there's a conflict that they're trying to resolve, is that they feel like, oh, nothing's going to happen. It's like wishful thinking. I'm just like, no, it's not wishful thinking. It's about setting the intention and then reinforcing that intention when you can, and doing your best to like not hold on to the end result, like allow the energy to work in your favor to give you whatever is in your highest and best interest, because we don't always know what that is.
Yeah.
We think we do, but we don't always. So it's like, if there's something that you want to fix or something that you want to manifest, I always tell people, like, think of it in terms of this or something better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the intention that you hold. And every time you think about whatever this thing is, that is the reinforcement, that or something better.
You can't be attached to outcome, because that totally limits whatever it is you're trying to do. You're setting the intent, and then you're saying, okay, universe, I'm setting the intent, and then you let source manifest that with you, and it's kind of like you let them drive during that particular point in time while you hold the intent.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when we have, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to add that the other thing we tend to do is assuming that the solution to whatever it is will come from a particular direction or come to us in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
And that limits the universe in doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, when I lived in Hawaii and you told me while I was there that at some point I would be moving to Washington State and I would be here for over 20 years, I would have laughed in your face because I would have never left Hawaii, ever. That was never my plan. In fact, I came here to visit and I never left. If I had made the, if I was not open at the time to what the universe would was planning to give me, I would have missed out on so much stuff because I had predetermined what it should be, versus just allowing it to be, which is what I ended up doing. And like I said, I was just like, so my life is like, talk about the circuitous route about different things. But if I hadn't allowed the universe to do that for me, I would not have had the experiences, met the people, done the things that I have if I wasn't open to it and just allowing the universe to work however it needed to get me what I needed for my highest good.
I was driving down the freeway when I decided to move to the Pacific Northwest, and it was only being here and someone else saying, "Hey, basically, let's run a fair," that I started running fairs, which is how we're having this event now. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's weird how stuff just kind of happens. And, the more I do this kind of work, there are no coincidences. There's no such thing. Like things happen how they're supposed to happen, and sometimes we need to, like Arrun was saying, sometimes we just need to shut everything down and start again, do something different. Sometimes that's what's required. Sometimes you don't have to go to that extreme. It's like the universe will help you determine that if you just allow it to do that. It's not giving away your power, it's allowing the universe to step in and assist you. It's not the same thing.
It's working in concert. You're surrendering to what the universe is doing. It's like going down a river. If you try and like say, I don't want to do this, and you grab the side of the bank and all the branches, you're going to get flipped all over the place and beat to death by all those branches, instead of just trusting flow where you are and allowing yourself to be on that journey. And then we have to trust that it will unfold in a way that's for our highest good. So you're on the river, getting hungry. Okay. And all of a sudden there's a restaurant right up there and there's a place to dock. Okay, cool. I'm going to get some food. When we can, I'm not saying this is easy, it's practice, but when we can do it, then we're like opening this door for even more to come, because you're allowing yourself to be in that vibration. And when you do that, then everything resonates you are met at whatever level you are resonating with. And so when we trust ourselves and allow ourselves to float and go through that experience, that opens the door for even more. And like Kai said, this or better. So it's like, yeah, this, but I'm open. Like if there's better, great. Let's have better. And then our work is to go like, oh, that's not possible. I can't have that. I can't do that. It's like, no, now you just kink the hose when you do that. So it's setting those intents, but at the same time, what of all the objective stuff? What's all the hamster wheel stuff telling me that's stopping me from being able to be open and allow this to happen? And that's what our work is when we want to manifest something like that.
Yes, always looking and unkinking.
Mm-hmm. And trust that, oh my God, it turned into a pink hose. I never had any idea about that. I mean, now, it's like we just have to let go of all those expectations about how we think it's supposed to look or how it's supposed to show up. Because you just put it now in a little tiny box, and there's so much more that's possible.
Yeah, and it's not just about, the stuff that we do. It's also about the people who are with us as well. Because sometimes it's like, I've said this repeatedly to a few people that you are on your path and you're doing your thing. You're doing what's right for you. You're doing what things are meant to be for you. And people either join you or they don't. It's not your responsibility to drag them with you. they must join you when they're ready. And if they're not ready, not now, not ever, so be it.
Someone in the audience was unmuting. Did you have something you wanted to say? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, it's Dina. I was just going to say when Crystal mentioned the detaching from the outcome, that was so key when I started working with clients. It was not an easy journey nor lesson. Back math science background, so A, B, you know, how to get there. But once I realized it allowed that space, the outcome, I would think it would be over here and it would be totally something that never crossed my mind.
Mhm.
And then I learned I would get these messages, and I do this because I usually it's kind of over here to pursue something or say something, and I'd be like, oh, I can't say that. That's offensive. That's inappropriate. That's, but as I trusted it, they'd be like, aha, that's it. That's what it was. And I'd be sitting there thinking, wow. Because I wanted, you know, I wanted the outcome, or I thought I knew, but you know, like you said, Chris, once I learned, it takes the pressure off. If you can detach from the outcome, oh my gosh, you open up and you no longer restrict your client, or yourself.
Or yourself.
Oh, yeah, it opens. So thank you for mentioning. It's always a good reminder.
Thank you.
Yeah, because when you kind of like put a peg in it and say like this is what it needs to be, like you've automatically shut down the other possibilities, and you put responsibility on yourself in that if it doesn't turn out that way, like what did I do wrong? And it's like it doesn't have anything to do with you.
Oh,
Because
absolutely. Yeah.
whatever the client is going through, that's between them and their higher power and the energies around them and their own expectations and their own intentions. Like you
Absolutely.
provide the framework for them to work whatever they're doing, but they're doing it all.
Oh yeah. We're just, or I feel like I'm just there, or a conduit, or they're doing the work, and they know the answers. They already know the answers.
Yeah, most of the time they do. Yeah,
They
we
just
just
need
I
a place.
look at it like we provide the framework. We kind of give them the box to bounce around in until they figure it out, and then we just let them out of the box and they just go do their own thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't blame the messenger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because sometimes I think healers are just like, oh my gosh, what did I do wrong because that person didn't heal? I'm like, the person didn't heal because they didn't want to heal. It wasn't in the being in pain serves them somehow. You can't fix that. So you need to just let them, come to that conclusion. And at some point, if they were ready to actually heal, they would. Because it's not up to us. We're the conduit. That's it. Like the actual healing happens with them, through them and all that. Yeah.
They have to be open to receive.
Yeah. And if they're not, that's not our fault.
Yeah.
And we can't, too many healers I've seen like take on their responsibilities. Like, well, let me just try again. I'm like, why? There's no point unless they're ready to have it healed, have it happen, have it correct itself. It won't change.
Correct.
And being receptive, if you can't receive, then all the stuff you want to manifest is not going to happen because you won't let yourself be able to have it. So again, when I was talking about when we set an intent or want to manifest, then you've got to look at, well, okay, I want like a sports car. So what's your belief system about having a sports car? Do you like, oh, I can't afford it, or I can never have that, or somebody I know died in an auto accident in a sports car, or you always get tickets if you're driving a sports car.
Or people who have sports cars are jerks or some such thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're not going to get a sports car. It's just not going to happen.
Or if you do, you'll have lots of problems.
Right? So when we want to manifest things, we have to look at what is our beliefs around whatever it is we're trying to manifest. And what does it mean if we allow ourselves to receive? Are you the person that gives everything away to everybody, but when someone wants to do something for you, you're like, no, I can't let you do that. No, no. So it's like, why not? What would it mean if you let other people help you? So that's underpinnings to all this is being able to do your side, do your side of the equation so that you unkink more things so that it can flow more smoothly. So if you start to manifest something and it's kind of coming along and it kind of squirts a little bit sideways, then you go, oh, wait a minute. Okay, why did that just happen? So what's up? What's going on with me that potentially I'm holding something in my consciousness that won't let that even out? And then you check yourself. It's like, no, I feel pretty clear on that. And it's like, okay, so for some reason that needed to go like that. And we just trust that there's a purpose to it that we might never even know what that purpose is. And just allow it to unfold how it's unfolding.
And it's weird how the universe works, and directs energy and things like that. I mean, like for me, for instance, I've been like people have been telling me like you need to be teaching a hands-on class, like there's a lot of energy healing techniques and things that that I would like to know. So could you please teach a class so I could learn this stuff from you? And I'm like, yeah. I will eventually. I will. And my guides are like, yeah, you need to teach this class soon. I'm like, yeah, I will, but I don't have enough. Like, where am I going to find the students and where am I going to hold it? All the technical stuff is in my head, right?
Mhm.
And then I mentor a person, and my guides were like, mention the class to her and tell her about all this stuff that you've been yakking about in your head. So I say, oh, I said to her, so yeah, so I'm thinking about doing this class and I don't know where I'm going to get students from and I don't know where to hold it. And she goes, you can hold it in my office and I will get you students. I was like, what? I mean, it was literally like within 10 minutes, like this class formulated. And so, yeah, in May, I'll be teaching a class.
Which
that
class is that?
It's a class, it's an advanced class for energy healers. So I'm going to be covering different types of scanning techniques and energy frequencies and entities and energy blocks. I mean, just all kinds of advanced type of energy healing that's beyond the standard stuff. And it's going to be a small class. I'm only going to do 12 people. And I don't have everything set up for it, so people can join or whatever at this point. But it will be up within probably like the next week or so.
It's
But
one day
yeah,
or it's multiple days?
no,
Sounds
it's
like it's a
just one
one-day
day.
thing.
It's going to be like from 9 to 4 on a Saturday. And
Kai, it's Kai's gonna like, as she would say, land the plane. I'd get it all done in one day. We don't just
yeah, well, I mean, I already got handouts on it, that I'm just all kinds of stuff that I'm doing for it. But yeah, literally like in 10 minutes I'm like, my guys are like, yeah, you're gonna do this class. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. And then I mentioned it to one person and now it's like solid. So it's weird how the universe can just like make stuff happen like instantaneously.
Yeah.
So is this an online class or an in-person class?
It's an in-person.
In-person. Oh, wow.
You have to come visit.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, hey, it's not till May 16th, so
I got a little time.
if you happen to be in the area, but yeah, so that's the thing about once you kind of have the energy set up for it, and then if you allow it, then the universe can actually open up the doors for you if you will just allow that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because for
Just
me,
the
like I'll admit it.
acceptance.
Yeah, I'm a little stubborn and sometimes I'm a little clueless, which is why I was like, yeah, I'll teach the class, blah, blah, blah. And then my guides were like, literally that morning, they're like, you need to tell her about it. And it wasn't until the tail end of our mentorship conversation that I just happened to mention it. And she was like, oh yeah, no, we'll set you up. We'll do it. I was like, what happened? So, but that's how things can happen.
When we're ready.
Yeah.
intent and staying
Sometimes
positive.
we don't even know we're ready.
Yeah.
Sorry, Arrun, what were you?
It's okay. It's just that intent and staying positive.
Yeah, being willing to notice the openings and take the openings. I guess, Kai, do you want to say anything about that? Of your I'm kind of taking a little bit of a tangent, but maybe you said the word you could be stubborn. I know, like, um, I get I in the way I read different people's eyes, you totally have some of the characteristics that can be stubborn. I have that too. And do right in general it's better if we're not stubborn about stuff. Like, is there so we all have lessons, right? I'm not saying that you're perfect, but do you have anything you want to say about that in terms of your lessons with being stubborn? And how do you know, like, how did you decide to listen to it in that moment? And like what's your process of like maybe it's not ready yet, or like what do you?
Well, no, I mean, because I mean, I like teaching classes. I really do. I enjoy the heck out of them. They're so much fun for me. But at the same time, I'm always like, I get stuck on the logistic stuff, right? Like I'm one of those people that I like things to be like, I'm going to do it here. This is what's happening. That like have all the logistic stuff laid out before I think about all the other things. Like it's like I have like this basis that I need to work from, at least mentally. That's my construct, and to a certain degree, that's what makes me stubborn. Because if I don't have the construct, then I'm like, I can't do this, which is ridiculous in terms of energy. And I know this, but this is how my brain works, and so that's why. Um, Basically the universe like had me mention it to my student, and like she just essentially just wiped out all the things and a lot and gave me the base to work from. So basically that's the universe telling me, now you have no excuses, so get on it and you're going to teach this class. I'm like, okay.
And I
So
keep
I
I
but
know
I'm
you're gonna
yeah, I'm stubborn in that way because I always want to. It's almost like I have to have like these things before I feel like it's ready to go. Like other people, they can just spontaneously whatever and just let the stuff happen. But for me, and I understand that that's my own failing, that I have to, there's a certain level of, I guess, comfort that has to be there that I before I can build on it. And it's only in certain things. I mean, other things I could care less. I'm like, yeah, let's just go with the wind, whatever, that's fine. But some things like building classes and things like that, it's just like I need that foundation in order to like really, and now I have it. And most of the stuff, the class is pretty much built. I just need to get all the other stuff, just wrap up a few details kind of stuff, and I'll be ready to go. And man, this happened Thursday. So it's only been a few days that I was able to rip everything together.
it just sounds like so much that you're packing into this class too. So it just seems like the next step, it's gonna split into like 3 classes or 4 classes or something, because it's just so much. But you'll find
Yeah,
out.
well, I mean, yeah, I could have split it into like a full retreat if I wanted to, but I didn't really want to do that because at the same time I don't want to overload people because it's going to be a lot of information, very specific information. I mean, we're gonna work at the cellular level. So we're going deep. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be fun.
And you're obviously gonna be some of what's choosing, but how do people know if they're experienced enough that they're ready for this?
I have always run on the premise that if it's for you, you'll know. So it's like if you're like I mean, once I set up all the stuff and you read all the information about what it's going to entail, like you already know if like, yes, I should be there, or yeah, it's not time yet.
Okay. Yeah,
You
great.
you get the feeling, the strong feeling about it when you're
Yeah.
ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of built into the intention of the stuff that I'm going to be building for it. Is just like that you will instinctively know if it's time for you to, because there's a lot of really strong healers in this area, and they just may not be ready for it right now, and then they can go ahead and pass. And other people who are like, yep, it's my time, and they're going to step into it and they're going to be able to make the most of it. And so I'm not worried about who shows up because the right people will show up. That's how it works.
Well, we're kind of talking a bit about manifestation and ways we get in our way. Like anyone in the audience, comment on any of this stuff, a comment on something different, like please go ahead and bring it.
Yeah, it's like I want to hear what everybody else has been working on, or what have you encountered? Have you noticed anything different? Have you noticed anything different about yourself? I mean, I know a lot of the healers that I know are kind of undergoing changes themselves, not just with their clients, but their own personal growth. Um, so if you guys have anything that you've encountered, I would like to hear about that.
Um, I actually wanted to roll back a little bit to what was said earlier today. A funny English word, vortex.
Vortex. Okay.
So the word has been stuck with me for a while because the only vortex I have experienced was polar vortex when we had a snowpocalypse. But here's the thing. I once shared that I can sense sometimes the energy of the space. Let's say I walk into a house that has 4 bedrooms, a couple bathrooms, a kitchen, a living room, a family room, all of that thing, right? I walk into one bedroom and it feels neutral. There's like nothing there. It's normal. It's okay. I can breathe. And then I walk into a different bedroom within the same house, and I feel like something is very heavy sitting on me, and it's like drabby, and I can't explain it. It's almost like I said, like I'm like carrying a heavy stone or something. But yet, if I go to a different bedroom, it may be even like on a different floor, I don't want to get out. It feels so good. It's like I'm in heaven. Um, and it can be like literally within the same house.
Mhm.
I used to clean houses for a living, and in one house, I vividly remember one bedroom I always was looking for an excuse to go to. I'm going to dust a little bit. I'm going to rearrange something. I forgot my mop, something else, because it just felt so good in that one bedroom. The rest of the house felt neutral. But that one bedroom felt like heaven. And so when I described that experience, I was asked if maybe I was in a vortex, in a place where a vortex is. My question is, how big can they be? And like,
Okay.
are they limited to one bedroom, or can they be like so big, or is it just me?
No, they can be huge.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not limited by size. I mean, they can
Okay.
be like the size of a coin all the way up to like bigger than a house.
Mhm.
I mean, the
Uh-huh.
Bermuda Triangle is a version of a vortex, right? And that's pretty big.
Yeah, so well, the energy of it, well, I don't know. From what I've read about it, it seems like the energy fluctuates. So I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like there's an overlap there, is what it feels like to me. When I feel into the energy of the Bermuda Triangle, it feels like an overlap of energies, which could be an overlap of portals. I don't know. I haven't looked that closely at it because there's
And
also something kind of negative about it. It's not just straight energy, because usually, like, if you feel energy, like, it just feels like energy. It's doing something, but there's a different component to it with the Bermuda Triangle. So it's
and what's the
interesting.
difference between a portal and a vortex? Just while we're playing around with all these things.
Terminology is, in my way, I use them interchangeably, but most people more so understand portal than vortex. And I don't know if it's, just a vocabulary thing, but I tend to use them interchangeably. I'm assuming that there is a slight difference in terms of definition, but for me, they're essentially the same thing.
I know, and portal to me kind of implies a place of transition from one to another, whereas vortex for me is more just a shifting. There's some pattern in the energy, but it isn't necessarily a pathway.
Reminds me of like a hurricane to me is like a
Yeah.
vortex, something that opens, like, opens up, that's like a portal. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
just
I lived on some land in Colorado that had several vortices on it. And just like you're talking about, like how you see it, and Crystal, you feel it. I definitely have a body sensation of
Mhm.
something being different, so I feel it, but it definitely has a somatic quality. So yeah, Lena, just like you could feel it energetically, maybe your mood, like something different in that room.
Yeah.
It's all of it, the mood and just the tactile sensations and just my whole I it looks like my whole body is being used for a lot of different purposes. Okay. So and it's uh like I said, I walk into the room and I feel like, ooh, that's it. I can't move. Something is heavy. My whole body is aching. I cannot like or I walk in and it just feels like it's like been raining for a while and it's drabby and it's sad and I just feel yucky, you know. And then there are areas where I walk in and it's literal, you know, like those Buddha pictures. That sensation. You know, and like I said, it can be within the same building. I feel
Yeah.
it in the libraries where I work. I feel it in my own house,
Yeah.
every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely legit because like I had a one of my teachers, her grandson, he would not he would not play in his room. He refused. Like he was fine
Mhm,
everywhere else, but he
mhm,
wouldn't play in his room. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, that's because there's a ghost in there that's bothering him. And so I got rid of that and he was fine. And so every room does have that ability because you can have like a portal or a vortex in a room and people are like, I'm not going near that. Like,
mhm,
it's usually like the basement, right? Everybody jokes about like the basement. I'm just like, that's because that's where those things usually are, like basements and closets, honestly. Um,
mhm,
but there was a lady that I worked with and she asked me to clear her house and she said, we always have these beings that kind of walk through our house and I'm like I've done everything I can do to kind of get it out of there and keep it clear, so can you go and do that? So when I went there, I remote viewed in, and her living room is, and this is not uncommon, like you have a wall that's covered with mirrors. And she said, yeah, we would never spend any time in there. And I said, yeah, because the mirrors are functioning like windows and there's something else on the other side, and that's what's making me uncomfortable because you're being watched. And she was like, oh my gosh. And so I actually sealed those mirrors. And, then I cleared out the house and stuff. And then she came to work the next day and she goes, I have to tell you something. I said, what? She goes, everybody went home and everybody was in the living room where the mirrors are and nobody said anything. She goes, we never spent any time in there and we were in there all night. I
mhm,
was like, really?
mhm,
She said, yeah. I'm like, okay. So yeah, every single room in the house can be or feel different. And there's
mhm,
so, and it depends upon, I mean, like you see this with like older houses, especially like this, it's really common in older houses because, people forget that in the old days, people used to just die in the house. They didn't die in the hospital, right? And so
mhm,
that energy of like sickness and suffering and death and all that kind of stuff may still be in the rooms of the house. And so when you walk into that room, you feel that energy. And then in other places, like that you may have had a room where like the kids were in there and they were just having a great time in there. And it's that room is full of love and happiness and energy and all that kind of stuff. And so you can have one house that has all these different things. Like you go into like the parents' bedroom, and if they have a lot of things that they worry about money, that energy of like worry and concern and dread and all that kind of stuff gets that energy gets trapped in that room. So that's why when I tell people, if they really want to, like once they do like a blessing on their house to clear out their house and ask the universe to bring in good energy to fill the house up, so that you start with really good energy, and to maintain that energy, what you do is you throw a party. Like you invite all your friends over, you have a good time, you laugh and you dance and whatever it is you want to do, because that's the energy that will help sustain the good energy in your house. and it makes it inhospitable for anything else.
Okay.
So yeah, you weren't crazy. You were judging it correctly.
I like I said, the word vortex kind of threw me off a bit because it made me doubt whether I feel the energy of the space or the space just has what you would call a vortex, and I feel that instead of
You could have
the
felt both.
space's energy itself.
Yeah, you could have felt both
Maybe.
because you can feel, because the space itself has one energy and then the vortex or portal itself has its own energy. So if you're sensitive enough, you could actually feel both while standing in the room.
Okay.
So it's not you.
I'm not as insane as I thought I was. Okay.
No.
That's good. That's good to know. That's good to know.
Way less than that. Still a little bit, but
A little bit. I'm okay with a little bit. We all need a little bit of that.
we all need a
Yeah.
little bit of that.
Uh-huh.
That's what keeps us sane.
True.
Is there something you want to say, Kenzie?
Yeah, I was gonna ask concerning portals. So can, like, with mindful intent, can you create one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
And it stays?
Not
It depends on
necessarily.
what you want to use it for. Because if you create it with intent, you need to give it a job, basically. Like it has to, like if you're going to create a portal, say you want to create a portal to like help your garden, with your trees or your flowers or that kind of thing, like that's great. But some people will create a portal to do not so nice things. And those are the kinds of things that will backfire if you're not careful. So the intent in creating the portal, if you choose to do so, is really, really important about that. Most people wouldn't try to do that, just because once you create them, you can't necessarily control them. You know what I mean? Sometimes people will do things and think, well, I'll just do this and, then I'll just have it do whatever I want it to do. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. It becomes an independent thing of its creator. So you want to be very careful about that.
Thank you.
The law of unintended consequences.
Yeah. Most of the time when I come across portals, or portals, vortexes, whatever you want to call them, I normally shut them down because they can be corrupted and turn into doorways for entities. So I usually close them down.
Okay. Yeah, I just on Friday I'll hit 15 months sober. And so
Good for you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
But in my bedroom, before I got sober, like I sat there for 8 months and drank in my room. And then I sat there just I guess in like a healing phase for almost a year. And I ended up like painting my room like sage green, and it's just really peaceful and whatnot in there.
Good.
But now it's like it's like I've reached my journey went to like a higher frequency or something, and I don't spend any time in there. I don't want to. So how would I distinguish if the portal's been like disrupted for not of the light? Or how do I honor it and keep it for like a healing space for whoever will have that space down the line?
Well, I think you've kind of answered your own question in the sense that if you won't actually spend any time in there, that means the energy is already,
Like
I don't want to
moved?
say it's not corrupted per se. I mean, it doesn't feel like it's corrupted per se, but it does not feel like it's good.
No,
Okay,
So
like
you're
it's not good
stagnant.
it's
intent.
still it's still your room and you're sleeping in there, right? So,
No, actually,
okay.
with a manifesting thing, I started sleeping in my Zen den. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
no,
would
I haven't slept in there in like 3 months.
yeah,
It's not your room.
I would find a way to get the entire space completely blessed, or like, have some sort of, again, like throw a party with
Yeah.
like some of your really good, like healthy relationship friends, and or have somebody that come in and do just like a little house clearing kind of thing for you. And then that way you'll have a nice clear space to work from, and that every room in the house will then be kind of aligned with where you are right now. And if you decide to move, then you will have left like really good energy behind you if you move. So what you probably want to do at this point is get your house blessed, or get some sort of house clearing thing done by somebody who's local or whatever. Or if you happen to know somebody who's like has a very strong presence
Kenzie's
that
in
really cares
Seattle.
about you.
Kenzie's in Greater Seattle.
Okay, yeah, so I'm sure you could find somebody near you that would be able to do that for you. Just do like a little house clearing, a house blessing kind of thing. And then
Yeah, I got that like 3 weeks ago. I had a reading and we did the house clearing, like, and she did it with me because this house is over 100 years old.
yeah.
And so, and she's like, you're gonna want to do that once a week. And so I've been staying on top of that, and I feel like the bigger energies like listen, but it's like the smaller, mischievous ones I can't quite convince to leave.
Well, see,
So
that has to do with the intent of the entity itself, because sometimes, we get like little mischievous things and they don't mean any harm. They're just, they're little jokesters.
yeah.
So they, as long as, and again, this goes into the blessing thing, right? Like at my house, there is nothing in my house. Nothing. No, no, no little, nothing. I
Right.
want nothing in my house. And I did that on purpose. But other people, they're like, I'm okay with like little spirits coming to visit and stuff like that, as long as they have like no intent to harm me or the family or whatever, then that's fine. So you have to decide what your level of engagement you would like to have. And then when someone does a house blessing for you, and every week, for me, that's excessive. Like if you do it right the first time, it should last you like months or years. Like you don't, it's like if you're having to do it every week, like,
Even if a house is sold.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
And the other thing to note is when I do a house blessing, like I don't just bless the house, I bless the land that it's on. You gotta consider the property that it's on. And yeah, everything, all the way to the property lines, not just the physical house itself, but the land underneath and all the way to the property lines. And then yeah, and then just clear everything out that is not for your highest good, and then ask for energy that is for your highest good to come into the space and fill the space all the way up. And then that at least gives you like a nice basis to work from. And then at that point, it's just maintenance, which again would be throw a party, have some friends over, have a good time, like make the space inhospitable to anything negative. And then as you are doing, your vibration is rising, the house will actually help with that.
Okay. Okay. So I'm in a duplex. Upstairs is a different unit.
Yeah, so you can just do your place and you can do the ground.
Okay. Cool. Just like visually cut the house in half.
Uh-huh. Yeah, intention
And
can take care
then
of all that.
those whatever's up there cannot drop down.
Correct.
Okay.
And there are
Yeah.
I'm just remembering some things from the past. Like there are tricks and things of like mirrors. Like if there's a bunch of stuff up there that's a mess, right? There can energetically like mirrors that reflect it back up and stuff.
Yeah, you can do that kind of stuff, but I mean if you're clearing with energy, you actually don't need any of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, it's a tool that people can use. Yes. I mean, because we used to have them at my house. When I was growing up, my mom used to always have mirrors on her front doors. But if you are very good with energy, you don't need that. you don't have to do stuff like that. But yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Any other questions?
For
I know
ideas.
that was an interesting run on things. We've covered such interesting topics today.
I've actually, being a crystal healer, I gridded the building with crystals before.
Yeah.
So it is possible to grid the building.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure what your duplex is like, but for example, let's say you have two houses that are kind of conjoined together, but you still have the four corners, right? The ones that are your outside corners and your inside corners where the wall meets your neighbor's wall, right? What I did was I've done it with the libraries, actually, because I was asked to. Um, I took four pieces of black tourmaline and I buried them in on the corners of the house outside into the ground in the counterclockwise motion. Start at any corner you want, as long as you go counterclockwise, um, and put uh, put them on all corners. I used a little bit of, if the soil is too dry, I used a little bit of like bottled water to wet it and stick it in there as far as I can. And then I used a piece of bullseye or red tiger's eye, if you wish, and put it right above the door frame where the entrance door is. What it did was it kind of created that shield that worked both inside and out. I had several toxic coworkers leave that location within the first month or so after greeting. And in one of the locations, I was asked to greet it because there was an organization that's across the street from it where someone also with some toxicity was coming to the library to kind of mess with them. And the manager was like, "Can you greet the building?" I did. And then she said, maybe 2 or 3 months later, we were under COVID restrictions, so we didn't get in touch much. And then I saw her again, and she said, that person left for a different job, you know, completely. Just got a job somewhere else. It was all like very peaceful. So nobody left with a conflict. No one fought anyone. People just found other places to work at that were not around that particular building.
I
And
say, how great to have a manager that said, please grid the building.
Yeah, okay. I have worked really hard to explain to her that, you know, uh, it's not going to harm anybody and no one is going to know that we're doing it. Okay. The administration doesn't know that I grid library buildings.
You just left a few
So,
pebbles in around the corner.
like, seriously, right? I just stuck a few like stones around the corners. What? Why not? I'm outside. I'm allowed to do that, okay? Maybe I'm looking for something in that soil. I don't know. Whatever. Like nobody would even know. Like they were like, "What are you looking for?" I'm like, "I'm looking for a four-leaf clover. Leave me alone."
Has Kenji ever
Stuff like
tried
that.
doing space clearing?
Kenzie has done some clearing in the
You've
space.
done
Are
some
you
clearing?
asking me in
Or
the
Yeah.
Alina.
Have you
I
tried?
did a little bit.
Mhm.
So, space clearing inside the library is harder to do. We're all under cameras. If I start going around with, the smudge kit or, the speaker playing this particular some music or something, I tried to do it in one building before they installed the cameras. And now it's just harder because those cameras are recording everything. And while we were promised not to have them used against us, they still will use them against us if they think that it's suspicious activity. Okay? So I can't do that. I just
Yeah,
can't.
you'd have
It's a
to do it from
government building.
outside. Yeah,
I'm limited.
you have to do it from outside the space. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
if you were gonna, again, that's one of those things where it would be yeah, most people would, use the sage and that kind of thing to do a
Right.
physical clearing, but you would do it if you do it with energy, then you wouldn't have to worry about that. But yeah, so that's
Mhm.
the
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
suggesting probably you can try it with the sage cleansing first. Got to leave
Yeah,
that
Um,
taking
door.
something burning inside the building, they won't like
yeah,
that.
she can't do it
that that
with
is that is
sage.
yeah.
Yeah.
A
Also,
friend
that
of
same
mine is a
manager
teacher,
has
and
light
she went to
asthma
school
and
at your
allergies.
classroom.
So that's yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so public buildings I always clear with energy. Then that
Mhm.
way it's well, I mean I personally can't burn sage because I have asthma. So yeah, walking around with
Mhm.
smoke in my face is not a good idea. But yeah, so I would clear that with energy. But yeah, I mean using stones that does the same thing essentially in just in a different form. So yeah, that works perfectly.
Yeah. So I had thankfully I had people coming back and telling me whether it worked or not and how and all that because normally we don't get this kind of feedback and stones work very slowly.
Hmm.
They grow slowly. It's they take years and years and years to form. So and same as when they work whether it's on your body or in your building in your space or anything else it's it takes a while for things to unfold,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, which is normal. That's why I always say, like, give it maybe at least a couple weeks. I would say a month. And if you don't see anything in a month, come back to me. We'll see if maybe it like rained really hard and they just went down too far. Sometimes that also happens.
Yeah. The other thing is I've often told people that they can actually use objects as sentinels in their house. Like you wouldn't do this in your job, but so you could use a like a candle or a figurine or whatever you have, and you would ask that object if it would be willing to kind of serve as a sentinel, meaning pay attention to the energy that's coming towards your house and to energetically alert you if something coming towards your house was not good so that you could be prepared for it or, be prepared to meet it as it comes towards you. And it's basically the same thing. Like you ask it if it would do this function for you, and then you would put it in one of your four corners of your house, inside in your house. And for me, like you had mentioned the stones you put in counterclockwise, I've just told people like pick a corner and just, go ahead, and once you set them up, then they will actually create the perimeter themselves, and they will, protect the entire space, whatever that is, if it's a apartment or a house or whatever it is. And sometimes people will do that just for their treatment rooms, so where they see their clients and things like that, they'll have like sentinels in the room so that they function to not just screen stuff out but also to contain things if they need to, because sometimes when you work on people you don't know what they actually have going on until they're on the table. And by then, like, so you kind of want to have a contained space to work with whatever. I mean, usually, even when I'm at the fairs, I have a shield around my table so that if someone comes to sit at my table and they want me to do energy work on them and say, like, they have an attachment, I don't want that thing skittering off and attaching to somebody else. So I want it contained until I can get rid of it. So sometimes sentinels will provide that type of environment so that you can kind of control what comes in and what leaves, if that makes sense.
You said a candle or something.
Yeah, because it could be so because some people use candles, some people use crystals, some people use figurines. Um, it's kind of like whatever you have. So it doesn't have to be a specific thing per se, but you do need to ask whatever it is, its permission if it would be willing to take on that job for you because it's a job. And, some things are like, no, I'd rather just sit on the shelf and be cool.
Yeah.
I don't really want to work. So you need to ask if it's willing to do that. But yeah, you could use a candle, a figurine, whatever you have.
Okay.
Sometimes in the past in my own house, because again, grew up in Hawaii, like I use salt.
Salt.
So,
Yeah.
Everybody uses what you have, what you feel comfortable with, what you have an affinity to is what is most important.
I was just about to say to try sprinkled salt water.
Yeah.
Sprinkle salt water at least 3 times, 3 days consecutively, and try that. Leave the doors open.
Yeah. The important thing about salt is, I know sometimes people are, we've seen movies, it's like, you put salt in front of your door, you put salt in front of your windows, all that kind of stuff. You want to clear the house first before you put salt on your doors or your windows, because if you don't, you're going to trap whatever's inside.
Yeah, it's interesting as you're talking about that. I'm just thinking about, right, it could be anything. Right.
What was that, Laureli? I can barely hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay, let's.
Clear.
Can you hear me a little bit?
Clear.
Nope.
Nope.
Unless you're just making your lips move and faking us out.
Nope.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
goodness, I can't be
No.
heard.
Nope. Can you hear me now?
Nope.
She's going to work on it. Any other questions or any other thoughts on what we've talked about, or any other things that kind of rang a bell for you and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work. You can hear me now only when I hold my hand up. It's crazy.
Well, you're so quiet, it can barely pick it up.
Yeah, now we
Nope.
can't hear you at all.
Nope.
Okay, I think it could be anything, right? So I know you were saying anything. I don't know if I'm
Yes,
thinking it. Right,
it
I
could
happen to
be
do
that.
ceramics, and so that may be why my energy draws to. This is not my piece, but
Yeah, it's something like that. You just ask it, ask its permission to see if it would be willing to be a sentinel for your house. And then, yeah, you can put a plant in there and yeah, it could be literally anything.
The other
So,
thing I
Dina,
found,
I'm sorry, Crystal, what?
I was going to say, the other thing I found is that houses are built with intent, and they're made to, they want to be used because that's the intent, is they want to be lived in. And I found that when I talk to the house, you can have a dialogue with the house as well and ask the house to help you ward off stuff. And be grateful, and tell the house you're grateful that it's there, that you get to be there, and that you appreciate that it exists. And then it's almost like you make a contract with it. And you could even say, house, is there something here that's bugging you that I can help you dispel or get rid of? And see what you get.
I mean, you were saying too, just about like property lines and clearing things to the property lines. Most things
Yeah.
are built within the property lines, but every once in a while there are weird things that you might run across too. I know my sound is
There. It's
my
like
sound.
when you hold
Yeah,
it a
maybe
certain,
you can hear me better now that I'm touching
No.
it.
A little
A
bit.
little better.
A little
A
bit.
little
Oh
better.
my God. That's but well,
Can you?
nope.
Nope.
And
Sign
now we're
language.
going to see Laurel perform as a mime.
I was gonna ask Dina, like, what is it that you do? Like, what do you do with your clients?
I am a hypnotist, amongst other things. I have a ton of things in my toolbox.
Cool.
But I focus more on past life, quantum healing, or a hypnosis where you can tap into entities and those type of things. And not too long ago, I actually did a certification in alien abduction therapist.
Okay.
Still playing with that one, but it was just very called to it and very, it's among personal experiences. That one I'm not technically offering because I'm exploring, but
Yeah. Yeah.
And being a
very,
therapist, meaning you're just working with the things that come up for people after it happens?
the alien abduction piece. Yes, because a lot of times people, since they had it, some people just know, or they'll have these things they can experience. And technically, the wording used now is experiencers versus being abducted, because not every, I can't speak, not everyone is abducted,
Some
but you
people
may
just
have
get
an
visited.
experience.
Right?
Yeah, and that was my experience as a child. So I kept, going through and actually did a session because I thought I don't want to offer something unless I've been there, kind of, sort of.
Mhm.
And but it's phenomenal, just like a lot of other things, what people carry from those experiences, and you don't talk about it. They're afraid to mention to anyone an experience, but it's very similar to a lot of the hypnotherapy past life, but having some other past life experience where they, whatever how it impacts a person
Yeah.
in your life, and you can carry it for.
So here's a question for you that I'm just curious about.
Mhm.
With you working with people who have had these alien experiences, because this is something that I'm encountering, have you come across the instance where people talk about implants?
Not me personally, but the lady that I did the training with, she talks a lot, and there's several folks out there that have actually even published books about the implants, as far as even going into, and they'll get a scan at a traditional doctor and they're like, well, there's something there, but if they get it out, it comes back or it moves.
Yeah, because as a healer, I've been running into them and like taking them out. So that I was wondering if in your sessions, if they're, like people are talking about them in those types of things, because most of the people that come to me are just like, they don't know anything. There's no recognition that they've had any kind of contact or experiences or anything like that. But then when I scan their bodies, because if they have like some ailment or something, and I'm just like, okay, let's just see what I get. And then I'm just like, oh, yikes. There's an implant.
Yes.
So
Yes.
okay.
So I personally haven't had that, but as I've read other people's books, and like the instructor, like, she gave us numerous examples of where people, and they can be anywhere,
Yes.
just like a reptilian implant. They can be any body part or a hook or whatever.
Yeah.
Very often, though, it's in the head, the ear, the spinal column,
And I know people that have had contact that has been part of them opening to their gifts. And so some people, I assume, have implants and it's not a problem. Or they experience that they have an implant, it's not a problem for them. Like, Kai, you're removing them from people. So you're running into the people for whom they seems to be a problem, or they wonder it is.
Yeah, I don't know of, I have yet to encounter anyone who says that the implant has worked in their favor. Because, we are, the way I view it, and this is just my opinion, that we are complete as we are. We don't need implants. So I don't know why anyone else, I don't know why people would need them. I mean, people can feel any way they want about them, but to me, it's like we are capable of doing everything that we need to do energetically without having enhancements or tools or anything. So for me, when I come across an implant, like the general premise of my work is that is something that should not be there. Because normally I'm scanning for things that should not be there. And so so if I come across it, that automatically tells me that it should not be there and it's not for the person's highest good. Now, whether or not the person chooses to keep them, that's a different story, because I always ask, like, okay, this is what I found. Do you want to keep it or not? And most people are like, oh no, get rid of it, please.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
sometimes I think it's because, or my understanding is it's something that's not asked for and it's done without your permission.
yeah, that's
And so
essentially
then you get in that like, yeah, is it
influence and control
for
kind
the
of stuff.
good or yeah,
Yeah.
or dormant, which I guess could be.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, you're right. It's like I usually find them like in the brain, the back of the head, spinal cord, sometimes inside the organs, but mostly along the spinal cord. So
Which
that's
kind of makes
interesting.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other question I had for you is, you're doing past life regressions. Have you done any work with future life regressions or future life
Actually,
regressions?
yes,
Have
I
you?
have, and the in between.
Okay.
So when I work with a client, I kind of open the door for them and let them know that we could go, and it could be this life or another life, or it could be, because I've had experiences in between, or we can tap into. Now, I don't dictate it and I don't set the stage, but
Mhm.
if you open, like I was talking earlier, if you open that door, then sometimes you'll tap into, and it's almost like doing a parallel timeline.
Mhm.
If you step up, you
Yeah.
bounce into that future
Right.
experience or
Okay, interesting. Because a lot of people that I've spoken to that does past life, they don't normally do future. So I just wondered if you did. And so it's like, yeah, because I've actually done some like, because I can actually roll back in time and do stuff. And so I
Mhm.
did roll forward myself just to try it to see if I could do that. And yeah, for me that was fascinating. And but I didn't do it through the hypnosis process because I'm a shaman.
Mhm.
I can do different things.
Sure,
So
sure.
um but yeah, that's interesting because not many people will do the going forward stuff. They
And
mostly
the in
focus on going.
between is, I find very fascinating. When I
Mhm.
early on in my career, when I wasn't really doing as much past life, I took one of Brian Weiss's class and he did a group session. And I ended up in that in between. And that was new to me. And I didn't even know where I was and what the heck was going on.
Mhm.
But that intrigued me. So sometimes it's when that soul is in between,
Yeah.
just hanging out, searching. And then all of a sudden it's like, I did not read the fine print on that contract. You pick the one, and then it's like, I didn't read the details.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes that, and I think as just as souls in general, we do spend time in that liminal space. And I think when we finally get to the point where we incarnate into our actual bodies, that's one of the things that most of us don't like, that weird amorphous thing, because I think it reminds us of the time that we were in that weird amorphous space,
Yeah.
that in between, that just made us uncomfortable. So that's interesting. I'd never heard it described that way before, but now I have to go look.
Yeah, there's a lot out there and people that have had experience. Like I said, I experienced it without ever, and he didn't set the stage for that. Now he will talk about it. But I'm like, what is this? It's like just this golden blob out there, and there's all these other just kind of hanging out in a sauna almost and I was like, what in the world is this? But as it formulated, I realized it was one of the times that I actually picked this life. And that's why I said I didn't read the fine print.
Yeah, I don't think any of us did.
Well,
It's like, no, wait, I made a mistake.
well, yeah, and plus time exists here in this plane and it doesn't exist anyplace else. And so you do this soul contract, and how long does it take before you incarnate here, or your parents or whatever, and then all this stuff happens, and it's like, well, I got here, but that's not, like you said, the fine print. It's like the contract technically happened. So yeah.
It's all just fascinating. And I so appreciate you all sharing your gifts and talents and insight. This is awesome.
Well, I'm glad you showed up. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah, whereabouts are you?
Arizona.
Okay.
I'm west of Phoenix.
And how did you learn about the event today? Saw it on social media somewhere?
I stumbled across maybe Facebook, the one that was for yesterday, the one
Okay.
you did yesterday, and was going to do that, but the only thing I saw was 6 o'clock. So I thought it started at 6. So I got in here already, and then I was like, then I looked at the detail. I'm like, they're finishing. So I wasn't meant to be. I think Facebook, I might have saw an ad or something, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds like you're doing good work. I think that more people need support for all the different things that are going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Great. Any last bits of anything we want to talk about before we finish up tonight? Because 2 hours have gone by.
No, I think that was it. That was a good run. We got
Yeah.
to talk about some really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
it's if you remember that it's Laureli will post this on MeWe YouTube channel if you want to go back and go through it again.
And we're going to do this again in May. Let's see. Is it May 19 probably? No. May 17. So we'll be doing this again on May 17. Yeah, 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific time again.
Kai, when are you doing your class?
The day before on the
16th?
16th.
Okay.
So we'll have lots of things to talk about after that class. Kai might be a little tired, but yeah.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. So, Arrun, thank you for joining us. That was fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
How was it for
Sharing a little
you?
bit of, I'm sorry?
How was this for you?
Oh, this was something very different. I've never been on a talk a live talk. Lorelei knows about it, and this is the first time. A little bit nervous because I'm on live the first time, and but this was very. It's a great experience, I would say, to learn a lot from you all and to understand different aspects of how energy works.
Excuse me.
We'll get
Yeah.
to do this all
Thank you.
together.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Thanks for
You're
coming.
welcome. Let's see. We haven't turned off the recording yet, so maybe do you want to go around and the four of us go ahead and say your contact info again so people can find us?
Okay. I'm Crystal Novak. My email is crystal@iknowstuff.me. My website is iknowstuff.me. I do psychic readings, energy healings. There's mentoring, there's some coaching. I also have a weekly online community meditation study group that's called the Path of Light. And that's Thursday evenings at 5. It's a subscription. So the information is out there for that as well. In fact, Lorelei posted it in the
chat.
And I also published a book in January that's called Remembering Who You Are, a spiritual guide to essentially be spirit having a human experience. And what is that? How are we influenced as spirit by being in this container? And talking about how we get, because we don't have anything going on when we first get born, our cognition is not online. So we're just open and we get programmed with all kinds of stuff. And then as we get older, that impacts our consciousness and interferes with our ability to manifest and live more clearly like we'd like to. So it's how to remove false beliefs and clear up your system. And then I also talk about Hermetic doctrine, which are principles about energy and how it expresses. So if you were here when we first started, and I talked about the first principle was the law of mentality, that we live in a universe based on thought, that everything that we see is reflection of the divine mind. And for us, our external reality is reflection of our internal reality. So when you start to do the work, then your external reality will reflect that work because you're clearing, and so your perceptions can shift, and so your reality will change. And then the last third of the book is a little more esoteric information. So that's on Amazon. It's ebook or paperback. Yeah, I think I got it. I wanted to thank you all for coming. We always appreciate when people show up and we can have the kind of conversations like we're having. So thank you for participating. That's what we want to do. So thanks.
Great. Who's next?
Yeah, I'll go. And Harry, I'm Kai. I'm a Hawaiian Kahuna, and you can find out all about me on my website, which is handsonfire.buzz, B-U-Z-Z. I've got my articles on there about lots of different practices and things to think about metaphysically. You can access all my books and courses and all kinds of stuff on the website. So that's probably the best way to get more info about me or learn about me and contact me. So, but thank you all for coming. This was a really good conversation. I learned a lot. Hopefully, what I said resonated with you and was something that you could use in the future or just kind of keep in mind for different things. And I appreciate the time that you chose to spend with us. So I don't take that for granted. So I'm quite grateful for that. So thank you.
Great. Arrun.
Yes, hi. Again, my name is Arrun, and I practice energy healing in the more traditional Balinese traditional modality of healing. And this is to bring in awareness, to shift energy, and to bring in awareness. When we have the awareness is when we begin to take the right actions and right choices in life. You can find me on Instagram at Energy Healer Space. I don't have a website as yet, and that's being worked on. And that would eventually be energyhealerspace.com. So again, my name is Arrun, and I thank you all for joining. And I appreciate being here, and I thank Crystal, Kai, Laureli, Diana, Alina, everyone who joined us for sharing your thoughts. Thank you again.
That's great. I want to mention too, you have a special also. If people want to work with you afterwards, you have the Balinese healing by donation. So if people want to work with you, great. And I'm Laureli Shimayo. I'm an intuitive eye reader, body psychology coach, and matchmaker. You can learn more about what I read in people's eyes at intuitiveeyereading.com, thrivetypes.com, and then how I apply my work to helping soulmates find each other at matchmakingsoulmates.com. And we've got our next event coming up on Sunday, May 17, as we mentioned earlier, and we're going to be joined by another guest, Laureli Hewitt, who does crystal rune readings and is a Nordic shaman. So more guests, more fun, and more conversations coming up in a month. So thank you, Arrun, so much for being with us today. Yeah, we always get to discover what we talk about. So no surprise, we talked about energy a lot today, right? Energy is everywhere. Energy is everything. And thank you so much, guests. It was great being all together.
Thank you for having me.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Take care.
You learn more about all of our events at miwifairs.com.
Thank you.